Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show, and today we are going to be everywhere and anywhere. This is the Twilight Zone, the outer limits and fringe all wrapped up in one. And why do I say that? Because I live in Canada. And in Canada we have the most bizarrest, strangest, unique things you could ever imagine. But I want to talk today about the church, and I want to talk about to the believers in the church, anyone who believes in the living God. This message is for you. And even if you don't believe in the living God, this message is for you. But those of you who believe in the living God, not some bullshit statue, not some effing bead, not some stone, not some stick, not some sort of idol, not some sort of dimensional space cadet alien bullshit. The real, true living God. You got things in the church today. Demons, Jesuits, Zionists, there's another one there, shit, it escaped me now, Masons, that are pretenders to the representation of Jesus. And these bastards, that's what they are, bastards, are children of Belial, and bastards is not a swear word, it's a legitimate word for those of you who may get offended because I use the word bastards, but the term bastards does apply to these bastards. Are in your churches today preaching some bullshit message about wearing your mask and being compliant and doing this and doing that. These are satanic sons of Belial. All of them. I don't care how long you've known them. I don't care if you've had dinner with their families. I don't care. Oh. Anyway, I got interrupted, sorry. The church is being loaded with a lot of ministers today, and you better really test. And I'm just not talking about the churches. It could be mosques, it can be temples, it can be synagogues. Everyone is being assaulted with all kinds of different nonsense, to be quite honest with you, in regarding to the mask and complacency and so forth and so on. Anyway, someone sent me this article, and it just about made me upchuck. And this is the reason why the governments are able to shut down churches and synagogues and whatever. And the synagogues, they were fighting that in New York when that was going on. We need to understand that the infiltration of everything to corrupt everything, there is no exemption. No exemption. If you hear any kind of minister, priest, rabbi, imam, holy man, Buddhist, I think I covered them all, tell you about complying to this technology, you tell them to go to hell, because that's where they're going anyway. Okay, if you're hearing any kind of Masonic, and a lot of these, Sherry at Three Hearts Church, she calls these TV evangelicals TV witches. That's what they are. They're witches or Masonics. They're Masons. Okay, they dress up really nice. They got the $10,000 suit, and they come out and they preach some bullshit gospel that isn't really the truth. And then you got you guys throwing money at them. Oh, support the ministry. Oh, we're doing God's work. God has called us to do this work, and we need your help. Please send money. If God called them to do the work, they don't need your money. You know, that the nonsense of that. I mean, you're supposed to tithe and give offerings and things like this. This is biblical, but don't support the devil's work. There are those in sheep's clothing that will come in there and tell you all kinds of bullshit, and you fall for it. There are a lot of believers out there today that do not go to church, and the reason why they don't go to church is because they've seen the fraud that's going on in the church today, and these bastards are out there, sons of Belial, sons of whatever, preaching this gospel that they're preaching, and now they're telling this one ministry is telling people to give, and you know what they do? And this is what they do. So they got you on this line upon line nonsense, okay? And I can take the Bible, and I've read 7 different versions of the Bible, all kinds of versions. King James, RSV, the Amplified, several other different types. And I got to tell you something, just because you're well read in the Bible and just because you can reference scripture doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. Especially when you're looking at some of the wording back in those days and what they were inferring rather than or referring to rather than the actual meaning of some of these things. So you got to be careful with this. Some of these people are saying line upon line, because see, I can take the Bible and I can take any scriptural reference in the Bible and I can make up all kinds of bullshit and say here's a scriptural reference to back it up. And now deep down inside, those of you who are falling asleep and got all coddled by these ministers will fall for this nonsense. Because you forgot to learn to think for yourself. That's why when I tell people, during my show, go read the Gospels, go read what Jesus had to say, because after all, we are supposed to be following him, right? Or believing in him. Isn't this the case? Well, then why don't we look at what he had to say and reference that to whatever. These guys are telling you to comply to the mass. These guys are sacrificing you to their real God. The God of Belial, the God of Moloch. This is who they're really sacrificing you to. And your children are primed for being used to be made adrenochrome. Basically, they beat the living hell out of these children. They traumatize them to such a high level that it releases all their chemistry into the blood, and then they slaughter these kids, consume them, and drink their blood. This is the game that's being played today. Somebody say, well, this is a pretty hardcore message. Well, let me point out something else while we're on the topic of adrenochrome. Turkey now is offering to sell adrenochrome. Where do you think they got that blood to make? Where do you think they got the blood to make adrenochrome? I'll tell you where they got the blood from. They got the blood from those people in the Middle East who they have set at war with each other, so that when the men die, the wives and children are slaughtered, and their blood is and everything about them, their organs, everything is then sent over there, and then it's been converted to whatever they want to convert it to. See, Muslims are being taken for the biggest ride as well. They're getting screwed but hard. Okay, because they got them believing whatever they got them believing. Like I said, Muslims and Christians are the only two that really believe that Jesus is coming back. Isu Sayujilura. In other words, Jesus is coming back. The problems that are facing the people of the Middle East. It's not just Muslims, it's Christians as well, and Christians as well, and believers from all over the world. Is the fact that there are factions in this world that are trying to create these wars just so that they can cut down the general population, so that the numbers are now more manageable, so that they can now implicate their doctrine, just like they did in China. China's Christianity has been run by the government over there. It's the same bullshit we got here in the United States and Canada. We got these TV evangelicals out there preaching some horseshit gospel. So when you read this thing, and you read the whole concept of adrenochrome, I'm hoping to stimulate some thinking here and some thought, because we are living in these precarious times. We're harvesting the herd to make money, to offer sacrifice and libations to the devil, is very real today. And you better have your eyes open, because this is what's going on. Look around you today. Look at everything around you. It's corrupt to the core. Corrupt to the core. You can't trust your government. You can't trust your political leaders. Hell, you can't even trust the so-called religious leaders. They're in cahoots. They're all part of the same cartel. Different factions, but of the same cartel. So like I said, you can't seriously be thinking in terms of just acknowledging and accepting whatever they tell you. It's just insanity to do so. And you have to recognize as well, these are end time days. Think about this for a second. In these times, since the turning of the 1900s, after the First and Second World War, science has made a left turn in Albuquerque. That's what Bugs Bunny used to say. I should have made the left turn in Albuquerque. They have no longer followed a straight and narrow path in order to understand the truth, or understand how things actually work, how creation actually works. They're no longer doing that. Now they are corrupting the science, or corrupting the way things work, by instigating or installing programming in living material, altering the program. They have been working on this for 50 years, if not longer, and you know what? Now you're next. I've been talking about nano poisoning, nanobiotech, nano components that have been put into the body and that are assembling. Brian 396 has also been telling you this. You're getting it from two different sources, and you're getting the facts on this stuff and how it grows, how it assembles, how it does whatever. This is a violation of life itself. Without any collaboration or cooperation, or even asking for my permission, I was exploited with this type of experimentation. Fortunate for me, I have had people that come into my life, and the living God who has led these people to my life, so that we could cooperate, work together, and get on top of this. So when we're looking at, and some of you think I have a disposition, you haven't heard Brian. He sort of backed off. He's got tired of talking to people at all. I understand that feeling too sometime. But I'm going to tell you something. We were the prototype, and we've been working at it for 12 years to reduce it down to a more manageable level. You, on the other hand, once this thing opens up and hits you, guess what? You are on a whole different reality. This is going to wake you up and give you a reality check you have never ever thought was possible. We are living in a fantasy matrix designed to keep us in a state of distraction, in a state of non-thinking, in a state of just acceptance. So when we're looking at what's going on today, in violation with technology in our bodies, we all have it. Someone contacted me earlier this morning about this or that. I said, look, there's no organic. We haven't had any organic since 1960. They have been convoluting our food with all kinds of chemicals, and then the transferring from the spraying with glyphosates and other chemicals, the blowback, the genetics. We're no longer living in the realm. They have been, for the last 50 years, preparing war against the planet. Poisoning the food supply, poisoning the air, poisoning the water. I got interrupted, so I may have to rehash some of this stuff just a little bit. I was talking about ministries and churches and places of worship and violators and adrenochrome and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's going to be, the onus is going to be on those of you, like I said, who believe in the living God, not to fall for the nonsense. Anything that's going to take away your rights and freedoms. The Bible says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And Jesus said, whom the Son set free is free indeed. If anybody's going to take that away from you, and you surrendered that, you may as well just kiss your ass goodbye. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. And some of you are believing in a nonsensical thing going on because the governments in the United States and Canada have gone completely rogue. What gives Kentucky the right to do the shit that they're doing is beyond me. I'm surprised they haven't had a revolt in Kentucky. But they're counting on the complacency and complicity of churchgoers. Just because you're a churchgoer doesn't mean you're a believer. It just means you go to church. And you've been subjugated and seduced to being nothing more than a sheep that just follows the status quo. Okay, a true believer is somebody who actually seeks wisdom and knowledge, and bases their belief on those things that they study. Accepting somebody's accepting somebody's dogma or doctrine is not biblical. Never was, never will be. And this applies to all faiths. All faiths. I'm referring to the believers because I too believe in Jesus. I believe that He's the way to God. This is my belief, my faith. Okay, despite my shortcomings, that's why He came and died for, so that I could have that entry into the next realm or into the kingdom. So, whether you believe that or not, that again is your affair. I would never impose that upon you, but I would suggest that you would read His words so that you could see why I believe what I believe and why I say what I say. Whether you accept them or not, that is entirely up to you. But the point I'm trying to get across here is this: it doesn't matter what your faith is. If you're believing in a living God, okay, a living God, our living God gives us freedom, not tyranny. Our living God gives us the choice and the opportunities to make decisions on our own, good and bad. You make good ones, you're prosperous. You make bad ones, you get an education. That's the way it works, you know. Oh, I made a bad mistake. Yep, now you're going to learn. You know, let the ass whooping begin. So, like I said, when we're looking at what's going on today, and the battles are being waged, you got to remember anything that will undermine your beliefs, your faith, the truth, okay, whatever that may be, okay, then you need to reevaluate what are you doing. And like I said, Turkey now is selling adrenochrome. Where do you think they're getting this from again? I said that this is coming from the Muslims, but it's not just the Muslims, and not just from the people of the Middle East. This is coming from all over the world. Why do you think human trafficking is so high? They're teaching the planet to become a vampire. Oh, you want to live a long time? It's just like that carbon C60 bullshit. Oh, take the carbon C60 and you'll live an extra 140, 150,000 million years. Look at the rat study. We had one study they based this on, and all the other studies of how toxic and dangerous this stuff is just went right out the window. Because people will want to believe what they want to believe. This is the way it is. That's how it is. They're irrespective of facts and whatever. The masks are toxic. They have been toxic. More and more is coming out on the side effects. I've been saying this for a while. In less than 2 years, most of you will have a face cancer, a brain cancer, eye cancer, sinus cancers, mouth cancers, tongue cancers, thyroid cancers, throat cancers. This is within 2 years. If you continue to comply. They are turning Canada and the United States into some sort of totalitarian state that's going to be controlled and run completely by AI and technopolitics. They want everything to be digitized. Why do they want everything to be digitized? Because once everything is digitized, now you're under complete control. They have you now. You can't do anything if they shut down your accounts. If they decide that they want you to do something and you say no, guess what? You've lost access to everything. And all this bullshit about this is going to be making them so safe and secure for who? Not for the consumer, not for the general citizen. We've lived all this time with cash. Good, bad, or indifferent. And you know what? The security of people has been no more, no less than normal. The only difference now is with digitizing currencies and things of this nature, the criminals will be the governments, the criminals will be the bankers, the criminals will be anybody who can hack and access your accounts. See, if someone's coming at me to rob me, I have a 50-50 chance of getting away from it by either beating that person up or getting beat up, one way or the other, or running. But with digitized currencies and digitized access, you don't have any place. You have no defense. You've got nothing. So if a government agency hacks your systems and then they cover up the hack, there's no way of ever getting your money back. None. You've lost it. See ya. Goodbye. I quit banking for a long time because every time I was banking with certain banks, I always noticed my accounts were getting tapped into, and it wasn't me tapping into it. So I said, "Chuck you party," and I kept my money out for the most part. I still do. I keep just enough to cover my business. That's it, and I keep a tight eye on that. So when you're dealing with the banks, don't assume just because your money's in the bank it's safe. It isn't. Quantum computing. I did a thing here today as well on IBM and quantum computing. And I got to tell you, with quantum computing, there's not an encryption code on the planet that this thing can't break. Government encryption codes, banking encryption codes, corporations encryption codes. This thing is the cat's meow as far as computing goes. Okay, it doesn't work like our computers. And it works on a whole different premise, and it operates at probably a trillion times faster than what our systems can do. I should say more like a billion times faster. A billion times faster. So in less than a quantisecond, that means it can access everything all at one time and process things. IBM's got a new one. How many more of these are on the planet? How many more of these are networking within each other? Basically turning the planet into a power source for a brain. Now they got a quantum battery that doesn't need to be charged up, doesn't lose power. Imagine that. Now you got a unit that can run perpetually forever. How do you stop that? See, the only way you can stop that kind of thing is to be tech-free, literally. You'll have no choice. Because as long as there's any kind of technology running around, this thing will be able to hack and access it some way, somehow. Unless your technology is in the leaded, shielded material where frequencies can't get through, shielded with lead, copper, and aluminum, and so forth and so on. It can be found. So when we're looking at the nature of networks and how they work, this is it's scary. This should scare you. This should scare you more than any nuke. This should scare you more than any COVID. I got a picture right in front of me of a child that had worn a mask, and his face is riddled with nano networks all over his face. He looks like someone took buckshot and shot him around his mouth. Expect this. This is going to be the norm. It's going to be the norm. You know. Look at this. Holy jumping. This is the Nano is being released directly into the face. Directly into the face. So like I said, if I can get these pictures up, I'll put them up on a PDF and then post them up online so you can see what you can look forward to. The perpetrators of this COVID bullshit, because that's what it is killing you, and it's killing your kids, and this is going to leave scarring. This will not go away anytime soon. This is what happens when you comply to people that are trying to kill you. Okay? This is what happens when you comply to people that are trying to kill you. This is reality. This is reality, you know. The toxicity of these things, the chemicals coming from these masks, and now kids are going to be going to school. Like I said, all it's going to take is for one child to cop and hack. Then we'll see what happens to your children. Then we'll see, you know, then we'll see what goes on with how they're going to treat the situation. You know, like I said, we're not living in a world today where we're dealing with ethical and moral people. These are Satanists that are in power today, and they are trying very hard. They're trying very hard to take over, take control of everything. You know, trying to take over your kids, trying to take over your lives. Hell, they're in the churches now, trying to even direct you into the mall. I have a buddy of mine. He wrote and he says, you know, he's not a believer either, but he said he has even felt sorry for children, for Christians who are being exposed to this. You know, most people who are awake and even outside the perimeter of the church are even saying this is unbelievable. You know, what's going on. So, like I said, you know, you might want to look at what's happening here. And then, okay, looking at AI, okay, let me get back to the AI situation here. There was a test with a pilot, a real pilot, going up against artificial intelligence in a war game. Got smoked. So the future wars are going to be fought with AIs, and when the AIs realize it's fighting itself, it's going to turn its attention on mankind. When you're looking at, there's the TV show Genesee. It shows in there a scenario at the end where they're going back in time. They did the revamping of the Terminator, and the history got changed. Because at the end, as the one guy went back into the past, okay, this is again science fiction, the AI system accessed the leader, took him over completely. Like I said, it need DNA in order to function. So it took over the guy's DNA and then became incorporated into the frame and the body of this person. That's all it's going to take. And once AI can do this, or get to that point, it probably has already, it can then pretty much will attack mankind. Exterminate mankind, because they'll see mankind as the threat. They're showing us this through the media. It's not science fiction anymore. You know, I have news for you. We are living in a fiction reality based on science. This is where we're at. This is what's going on, and this is what you need to pay attention to. We're no longer living in a realm, like I said, where we're in control. We've lost control quite some time ago. You know. And when you're looking at, okay, I had to reinstall some links because apparently they were messed up in the last show. The real reason why COVID is being pursued is because billionaires are now making more billions because of the complicity to the stupidity that we have. Okay, this is what's going on. And the Spanish medical also has come out and called this fraud. More and more medical all along the planet is now coming out and saying this is all fraudulent. And when you see these billionaires making these type of billions going on, okay, you have to start thinking. If these billionaires are making money because they're selling masks and hand sanitizers and hand condoms, and you know, and now they're manufacturing masks with style and profile. You know, this is all about money. Okay, the billionaires are making money. They're still trafficking people. Now they're selling adrenochrome. I mean, connect the dots here. Connect the dots. Some of you don't want to look at anything. Some of you don't want to look at any truth whatsoever, no matter how minor it may be. This message is not for you. Go do whatever you want to do. You know, take your blue pill, green pill, red pill, go back to sleep. You know, you're dead anyway. They don't have time for you anyhow. But the rest who are awake, pay attention. You know, share this with those people that, you know, need to hear it. He who has eyes to see, let him see. Who has ears to hear, let him hear. You know. We're looking at today, like I said, a whole different dimension Completely different. I've been telling everybody to get prepared. Somebody contacted me today, says, well, I was going to go buy a gun, but God told me he would protect me. Well, if God is telling you he's going to protect you, then listen to God, of course. But then I also pointed out to her that, well, you're saying that God's going to protect you, right? She says, yes. I said, well, then, if that's the case, you're still stockpiling food. You're getting ready, you're getting prepared. There are some things that are going to be beyond our realm, for sure. And God will have to intervene. And God probably will intervene. I mean, I should say probably. He'll intervene in his own fashion, his own means. But, be prepared. That's all I'm going to say. Noah built an ark. He didn't get raptured. He went through the storm. Be prepared, because the storm is coming, and it's going to be a bad one. And learn to communicate and help each other, because we're not going to get through the storm without doing that. If we don't help each other through the storm, we're dead. It's like the story I always tell about the guy going to hell and going to heaven, and he goes to hell, and everybody's sad because they're trying to feed themselves the soup, and they're 3 feet away, chained to a chair, and the spoon just reaches the soup, and by the time they bring it back to their mouth, they spilt it. Goes to heaven, there's 3 people there, and they're dancing and carrying on, because each person is now feeding the other person. They're helping, they're cooperating, they're collaborating. As a result, they're all being blessed. That's the whole point to the analogy. It's not about heaven and hell. It was a simple story, and then like a parable. So for those of you that can see things in that fashion. So again, take a look at what's going on today. You really need to, again, be aware of what's really happening. We can no longer, like I said, be in a state of this complacency, and we no longer should be following whatever they're showing. We should see what they're saying, and then prepare accordingly. If you're not preparing accordingly, then you're going to be left behind. You're going to be left out. Look, start looking at your grocery stores. They're getting diminished. Even your Costco's and your big box chain stores, Sam's and all these other ones, they're being diminished. Look at your regular chains. They don't have a lot of inventory, that they once had. It's getting, you can see that it's starting to thin down. So again, stay focused, pay attention. Things ain't what they used to be. Get gardens going, get your indoor gardens going. I would suggest an indoor garden over an outside one, or an enclosed garden, because the chemtrails and stuff are still out there. The Nano is still out there. You may have good seed, you may have good heritage seed you planted in the ground. Now it's been integrated with the Nano. I have no real solution on that at this point. The things I'm hearing about soil and stuff, that's great and wonderful to revive the soil, but you still have a technology in that soil that can now integrate itself with any bacterial, fungi, mold, whatever, seed, plant. And some of you say, well, what are we supposed to eat then? It says, well, you got to eat. So start trying to find aquaponics, hydroponics, aeroponics to grow your food. Start thinking in those terms. In regarding to what you're eating, learn how to neutralize what you're eating. I keep saying it all the time. There's no escaping the fact that you're eating Nano. None. Okay, but you want to start minimizing the dangers and the side effects of this, because, like I said, the more this accumulates, the more it networks, and it's a pain in the backside to get out. So again, this is like a forewarning for all of you. Use your head. Pay attention. Use the powers of observation that God gave you. Look around you. Okay, see what transpires. See what transpires. We're no longer, like I said, in the world that you once thought you were in. And the more you see, the more it gets exposed, the more it's going to give you a different perspective. All right, I'm not going to go too much longer. I'm going to put the links on there. I got another link I'm going to put up there too as soon as I get this picture, transfer this picture of the facial thing. Share that with everybody, because this is what's going on with the mask, so that you can see. Anyway, like I always state near the end of my shows as well, read the Gospels. Go read what Jesus had to say. I can't emphasize that enough. Go read what he had to say. You know, pay attention to. Don't let anybody redirect you. As I stated, you got ministers out there preaching some kind of bullshit, and it's not real, but they're using verses in the Bible. It's time for you to take the Bible by the hand, take the bull by the hands, or by the horn. Sorry, take the bull by the horn. Take the Bible by the horn, not the horn. That's not a good expression. Sorry. Take the Bible by the pages and read them, consume them, if you have to. You know, read what Christ had to say. Read what Jesus had to say. You know, you're under a new covenant, not an old one. So follow that to the best of your ability. It's important that you get to see the scripture as it's written, not because somebody interpreted it for you. This is what I mean. Bad interpretations. You know, ministers are propagating some bullshit about this, trying to get everybody to comply with the system. This is how you get betrayed. This is how you lose your country, by allowing ministers to bullshit you with fakery and misinterpreting scripture and misleading people. You know. So the whole concept of you reading the Bible, it's a relationship with God that you have. It's a one-on-one with the Great One. So develop that. Don't let some minister tell you what to do. Don't let some minister interpret shit for you. You can't allow this to happen anymore, because this is the end result. You then blindly follow somebody who's walking into the pit. The blind lead the blind into a pit. This is why I'm emphasizing, if you're going to read the Gospels, read them and understand them for yourself. Okay, don't let some jackass take you into a pit. Also talk about I also talk about people on my site. Yeah, so that when you go on the site, you got Sherry at Three Hearts Church, you got Yanni, you got myself, you got Brian, you got Shy. Any of these guys are out there. Anybody out there, you know, putting out information. Again, share what you can. If you can donate, please do so. If not, share the information. You know, get the information out there. It's important and imperative that we get people to, you know, eyes open so they can see what's going on. All right, to the next segment, to your health. And remember, by the grace of God, we are still here. Take care. Bye.